Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sideline Shenanigans podcast with Jacob Maggard
Dalton Phillips.
today we're going to be doing a recap and analysis of one of the craziest weeks in college football. Easily one of the craziest weeks we've had since like that '07 season where there was tons of upsets, and that's kind of considered the greatest college football season ever. We had a number of massive upsets this week that kind of flash back to that '07 season. Of course, me and Dalton both not the best picking week, but in one of those weeks where you struggle picking, it's because of all the crazy upsets, and a lot of that will make your picks a lot worse. First game we're talking about. I mean, this is one that if we'd have picked, there's no way either one of us would have ever picked
No,
Vanderbilt to win this game. And
never.
this Vandy team is a lot different than they have been in the past, and that's kind of evident with the games they've played on their schedule and how they've played. I mean, heck, they beat us. I watched them do what they did to Bama. They did it against us. They just run the ball so well. And Pavia is just he's unbelievable. He is very very good. He controls the game, and you can see how much like passion. If you watched his post game interview, he has so much passion for winning games at Vanderbilt because he was so underrated from everyone else, and now he gets to finally show what he's made of. Looking at the stats, Milroe goes 18 for 24, 310 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. His pick, there's going to be fans that you're going to hear and say that's not on him, but it was on him.
It's a forced ball.
He
Yeah.
forced a curl route to Ryan Williams, which I understand. When you're in trouble, you go to your best player, and Ryan Williams is clearly their best player. It's not even debatable. That dude is unbelievable. But he forced a ball in there, and it gets tipped, and it goes flying up in the air, which that's kind of unlucky. But that can happen when you force a pass, and it's picked off, pick six, and Bama starts down 13-0. And Nick Saban had only given up 13 points in four total games against Vanderbilt, and they gave it up in the first quarter of the game. Looking at other stats, for Bama, they did not have the run game going, which they
Not
have
at all.
had to have going to win football games, and pretty non-existent only because of the carries. They just didn't get to run the ball a lot because they were playing from behind the entire game. It's the first time that they've ever trailed a full game against Vanderbilt, of course. They never had a lead in this game, ever. Not one single moment did they have a lead. And then, again, receiving wise, Jeremy Bernard picks it up and helps them out a lot. And their tight end played well as well. And then, of course, Ryan Williams is phenomenal. He had the crazy catch that put him back into a 2-point game. And obviously, without him, they lose this game by more because of some of the plays he made in his three catches. Looking at the other side, Vanderbilt, it is put three guys in the backfield and just run the ball
Run the ball.
every single play. Heck, there was sets. They have four in the backfield. They have two running backs and a fullback or a tight end, and they're just going one way and letting them all block for Pavia and just letting him run.
And
And
Pavia can run the ball very good.
oh yeah,
He's an excellent runner.
he was one of the best running quarterbacks last year. He had the second most designed quarterback run plays for him last season. So the coaching staff knows, hey, this guy can run, and he can run very well. So, I mean, they used him. I mean, look at his stats. He goes 16 for 20 with 252 passing yards. That's the stat that you look at and say, how did Alabama let Diego Pavia throw for 250 yards on him?
I'm saying it's because of how good they are running the ball. Once you like have a team that can run the ball that well, I mean, you're just set, especially a team like Alabama, like that's that good. They're going to set to the run the ball. But you think they have corners that can cover Vanderbilt's receivers because they're not very good. I mean,
Well,
So
Vandy's receivers are a lot of misfits, guys that transferred in or that were already there
yeah,
and just didn't get recruited out of super heavy. But they've got guys that played well. I mean, lead receiver Eli Stover's awesome game. He was the guy. He has been the guy. And then Quincy Skinner, he was really good against Virginia Tech. And then, of course, you see Junior Sherrill there. He had the touchdown for him. Next one here. If you stayed up late to watch it, it was an unbelievable comeback. I mean, Miami is down 35-10, and Cam Ward had his Heisman moments. He had him against Tech. He had the last drive where he juked out two defenders and then throws a crazy completion to his tight end in the backfield for almost a touchdown down to the one. Well, against them, he makes plays. He had a rushing touchdown that put him back within a touchdown of the game. He has multiple passing plays where he extends them and makes plays. So yes, Ward is awesome, phenomenal player. On the other side, Fernando Mendoza. This was kind of a revenge game for him. He was a Miami kid that never got recruited by any team in Florida. None of them recruited him. So he goes all the way to the West Coast. His whole family's there. It was kind of like one of those big moments for him if he could pull it out. And he plays awesome. I mean, 285, two touchdowns, only 50% completion percentage, and does have the one pick, but you got what you expected out of Mendoza.
yeah.
He played awesome. This is their issue. California doesn't run the ball at all. And they have Jaden Ott, who is one of the better running backs in the country. He just come back. They said he was at full health. but I didn't see it in that game. I didn't see a full health Jade Knott. I mean, he literally had 2 yards on 7 carries. I don't know, man. I don't think they can win football games with just their passing attack, even though they almost did. On the other side, Miami does get the run game going, which is very important. Fletcher Jr. plays awesome, 11 for 81, 7.4 yards and a touchdown. And then Damian Martinez, their lead back, he also plays well, 12 for 42 and a touchdown. We talked about Ward's big rushing touchdown. It was towards the end of the game. The pocket collapsed on him, and he just went. And about 24 yards, 24-yard touchdown. And, I mean, that was a backbreaker for Cal because they'd almost got off the field. Looking at the receiving side of things, when Ward needed something, he just said, screw it, Restrepo's down there somewhere.
Yeah.
7 catches for 163. That's 23 yards per catch. He's been like this all year. And then they got huge contributions out of their other receivers with Isaiah Horton playing super well and Jacoby George, who played well against Tech last week. They didn't make a lot of mistakes. I mean, Ward had one really bad crossbody throw back across the field for a pick, and it was just very uncharacteristic. Actually, Cal returned it for a pick 6. But after that, he was locked in. I mean, he made that mistake, and I think he realized, whoa, I'm losing to Cal, who I'm supposed to beat. Now, I will say, the last talking point of this game, Miami got bailed out again. And it's unbelievable to watch the ACC replay center not call it.
It was definitely targeting. It's another just ACC trying to let them win because, I mean, I think that this Miami team should have had 2 losses this year. Because without both calls, they don't win the ball game. Either one of them, they don't win the ball.
I will not discredit Miami's comeback. It was a phenomenal comeback. But when Cal had the ball with a little over 2 minutes, their quarterback breaks out on the scramble on 3rd and 9. Safety comes across from the side, clear as day targeting, lowers the helmet, launches, hits him in the head or neck area. To me, it was the textbook targeting. If I was to open up a dictionary and look up what's targeting, it was that play.
It would be that, yeah.
They review it. They don't call it. Reese Davis said that's targeting. The rules analyst, that's targeting. Pretty much everybody else in the country says, yeah, that's pretty much that's targeting. But the ACC replay center, they just say, no, it's not targeting. Give Miami the ball back.
Let's keep Miami in the race for.
Here's the thing for me: Miami's a phenomenal football team. Cam Ward keeps them in it, and then the refs win it for them. But it's the replay center more than the refs. I will say that's not all on the refs of the last 2 games. That's on replay center, not calling 2 pretty unbelievable calls, missing them, and a targeting and calling that catch. You said you had evidence to overturn, which you took 6 minutes to review it. That's not indisputable. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with Miami. I think at this point they're going to continue winning. They're good enough as a football team to not need the help from the refs and the replay center, and they're getting it. So to me, Miami is still really, really good. They deserve to be a top 10 team. The talent is obviously there, but it's just some really weird situations to happen 2 straight weeks. Very big controversies, and we'll see if they can keep playing well. Right now, they're the favorite to win the ACC. Now to dive into our picks. This game was the opening game of our picks, and it was awesome. I mean, it was well worth staying up to watch. We talked about the situation with Sluka not being there and how Hajj Malik Williams played great last week. Hajj Malik Williams plays phenomenal this week. He looked awesome in that football game. One of his 4 incompletions was a pick, but you'll make mistakes here and there, especially when you're trying to win a big football game. And he made tons of really good decisions. He was very good at getting out of the pocket and creating plays with his feet when the pocket was blown up, and he just had to get out of there. He obviously ran the ball well, 12 for 53 and a touchdown. And that touchdown was on a blown-up play where he rolls around the outside and scores. And then on the other side for Syracuse, Kyle McCord, their passing attack is unbelievable. I mean, 63 attempted passes that is insane. 355 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also has the 1 pick. But again, that's a really good football game for McCord. And then rushing, they ran the ball really well. LaQuint Allen, big bruiser-type back. He goes for 2 touchdowns. And Yassine Willis, 8 for 62 and a touchdown. That's a guy that I think will get worked more into this offense now. As he played awesome in that game. For UNLV, I think UNLV has one of the best special teams units I've ever watched play football in my life. They blocked 2 punts in this game. Well, one was a punt where they blew it up, so he didn't even try to punt it. He just got tackled for a loss. Yes. The other one, Ricky White takes it off his foot. Literally, Ricky White. We're talking about a guy that is your superstar player. Your NFL-level talent is playing special teams. That is hard. That is wanting to win football games. That's why I like this UNLV team. They have a lot of adversity to beat because of losing their quarterback, losing their second-string running back, and they're just playing through it, man. They're playing like it didn't happen. On the other side, Syracuse, Arunde Gadsden, he goes 10 for 142. McCord has found out this guy's legit, and he's unbelievable. He's a massive target. He catches everything. And then Jackson Meeks and Trebor Pena. We talked about Pena. Didn't talk much about Meeks, but they have exact games, except for Meeks scores a touchdown and Pena doesn't. But 8 for 67 from both of them. UNLV played good enough to win this game. It just come down to the fact that Syracuse got the ball in overtime, down by 3 because UNLV couldn't punch in that touchdown and they score. A 3rd and 20 play, a little bit controversial. There was a roughing the passer with targeting called. They go to review it. They take away the targeting, say, no, it's not targeting. And you can't pick up the roughing the passer penalty. So they had to stick with the 15 yards and a first down. Syracuse gets the first down, and in 2 plays, they score. It was one of those things where when I'm watching it, I wouldn't have called roughing, but he did make contact with the quarterback after he released the ball in the shoulder. He hit him in the shoulder, which is upper body, and that's where
upper body. Yeah,
you'll call it. I don't think it was the worst roughing call I've ever seen, but also I kind of wish they'd have let the guys play because it was such a good game, and that was the stop that UNLV needed basically to make it 4th and 20. And what are the odds they convert that? But again, a great game. Me and Dalton both picked UNLV here, but again, I'm not mad at missing this one. It was an awesome football game.
Great game.
Syracuse proves that they're a really good football team, passing the ball especially, and I still have a lot of faith in UNLV in big games this year. Next game here, SMU traveling to Louisville. SMU gets it done, 34-27. Looking at the stats, Kevin Jennings is awesome. He comes in, he looks great in this game, and as you can see, Preston Stone has 1 pass for 1 touchdown. That play was pretty weird, truthfully. Jennings gets hurt on a weird play, and Preston Stone subs in and throws a touchdown, 10-yard pass touchdown, and then comes right back out, never touches the field again. And it was just like, you got that coming off your bench. You got a backup quarterback that can throw a touchdown and then go back and sit down. Rushing attack, Jennings breaks off a huge, almost 60-yard rushing touchdown. That was massive for him and their rushing attack in general because Brashard Smith, he played well, but he really didn't get it going, kind of how we expected. He wasn't dominant in this game. He was just good. On the other side, Tyler Shaw, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 329. Another good game from him. Talk about Isaac Brown.
Yeah, he's a stud. Averaging 11 yards a carry in a game that's tough. That's able to win. That should win you a ball game. But your passing attacks, they stay a little bit, but an interception could cost a close game like that.
Yeah, the interception was definitely just a crucial mistake. And like you said last week when we talked about Brown, we'd honestly like to see him get the ball more. He still really
should have.
He didn't get a ton of carries, and he was playing awesome. Why is Donald Chaney getting 10 for 21? That's what I'm asking.
Give 7 of the carries to him, to Isaac Brown.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think Louisville's a football team that will win more football games if they can get this rushing attack going, but they've now hindered themselves because of the loss, and it's hard to recover from that in the ACC play where we have 2 teams like Clemson and Miami that could potentially go undefeated. Looking at the receiving attack for both teams, we talked about both lead receivers. They were both lead receivers. RJ Maryland is a tight end for Jennings, and he uses them a ton. 6 for 83. On the other side, Ja'Cory Brooks, big play guy, 3 for 121 and 2 touchdowns. Come on, 86-yard touchdown he had in this game.
Can't beat that.
The dude's a stud. Not a whole lot else to talk about in this one. It obviously has major implications in the ACC, and that leaves SMU in a really good spot. Their schedule, if you take a look at it now, they got past their toughest game. This Louisville game was their toughest game left in the ACC. They have Pittsburgh and they have Duke, who are both undefeated in conference play and in regular national play. But to me, Louisville was the best remaining football team. It's going to be important that they can play through those Duke and Pittsburgh games because I like the rest of their schedule. I think it's very favorable for them. Unbelievable. Missouri travels to A&M. We have talked about how College Football 25 has them as the toughest stadium. It looked pretty tough in this game. Their stadium was rough. They were rocking. Missouri was they were confused. They didn't do anything on offense in the first half. They had really not a great second half. 3 of their 10 points comes from a field goal with 30 seconds left, down 41-7. Who knows why they took that? Brady Cook, 13 for 31. That's just super inconsistent. When we're talking about a sub 50% completion percentage, now he didn't make a crucial mistake with a pick or anything, but when your run game's not going at all, you got to have something going in the passing game, especially when he has 2 lethal weapons on the outside. On the other side, A&M, Connor Wegman's back. He plays, and he looks great. This is the best game he's played all year by far. He looked pretty bad prior to his injury, which is what they're calling it now. I wasn't 100% sure he was injured. So maybe the injury was what was affecting him in his first couple games. Maybe he had a camp injury or something, and that's piled on in those couple games that they lost or game they lost. In this game, as you can see, 18 for 22, 276. No touchdowns, no picks, but they didn't really need it because their rushing attack was awesome.
Yeah, Le'Veon Moss, he's insane. I mean, he had a 75-yard touchdown run. That's I watched that run. It was dirty. He is that guy. And if you have a running back like that, it's easy to pass the ball. So if they can keep relying on him, who knows who they're going to beat in the SEC.
Yeah, that opens up a ton for them. Their rushing attack in general is great. I mean, Amari Daniels also has 2 touchdowns on the ground. That is 5 rushing touchdowns, averaging 6.6 yards per carry. Tell me how Missouri was going to win this football
It's
game.
hard. It's hard to beat a team that can do that. I'm gonna be
Yeah,
completely honest. Yeah,
Missouri on the other side.
not good at all. They're not a top 10. I've been saying they're not a top 10 team the whole entire year. I
I
didn't never really believed in them that much, and they've showed it that they're not.
Missouri rushing. Nate Noel doesn't run the ball well. Marcus Carroll truly doesn't run the ball well either, and that's why you lost. You had no rushing attack, you had a pretty poor passing attack, and that shows on the scoreboard in a 41-10 loss. Next game here, Ole Miss had to have a bounce back game against South Carolina, and they go in there and obliterate. I mean, 27-3. It's not close ever. And South Carolina's defense did okay. They actually did get to Dart a little bit. And
Yeah.
27 points is not a game where you're like, 27 is not a game where you look at it and you say, oh, we're definitely losing. You know, you didn't give up 40, you didn't give up 50, but their just offense was nothing. They non-existent. And Sellers did make mistakes. And he was also their leading rusher. They just don't have a running back that's pulled away and been great since he
I
went
thought
down.
Rocket Sanders was that guy, but apparently he's not. I mean, he's got to
Well,
get more than 29 yards in the game.
I think a lot of that was it slowed him down so much. He had a lot of momentum. He was playing well prior to the Sellers injury. Sellers goes down. The running attack kind of dissipates while he's gone. And then when he comes back, it's just not the same. I think
Yeah.
momentum is just gone for them. So Sanders just doesn't have that stacked momentum to continue to run, 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 run. And on the other side, for Ole Miss, Henry Parrish was like a game time decision. He plays super well, 21 for 81, 4 yards per carry almost, and a touchdown. And then Dart has 8 for 44. Dart is elusive and can get out of the pocket and run. And then, as you're seeing, JJ Pegas is a D tackle. He has 2 carries for 2 yards and 2 touchdowns.
It's like Fridge Perry right there.
Yes, that is unbelievable. He has now 5 rushing touchdowns on the season, which is the
That is
most we've
insane.
seen. Most we've
That's
seen in the
insane.
SEC since I don't remember. I saw the ticker on ESPN talking about it. It's like the most we've seen from a D tackle in 10, 15 years, and he's already tied it. So sets that they use him in on that 1 yard line, I mean, it's obviously overpowered when you got a guy that's as heavy as he is, just right up the middle. Passing attack is much better for Ole Miss this week. Dart plays good again, 14 for 27 for 285, but no touchdowns. They do score them all on the ground. And then receiving wise, Trey Harris, 3 for 81, continues to be the leading receiver in the country. And this whole talk of he's stat padding, he went 3 for 81 against a good defense. Antoine Wells Jr. also plays well, 3 for 97 on the other side for South Carolina. We kind of talked about how they hadn't really found that lead guy, the lead receiver, and it doesn't really look like it's still been figured out. I mean, Bennett Jr. was their guy coming into this game, their lead receiver, but he still hasn't crossed 250 receiving yards on the year. So just not much of a passing attack. And then looking at defense, that's what we talked about. We said if the South Carolina defense could get after Dart, they could win this game, and they didn't. They only had 1 sack on him, whereas Ole Miss's defense had 6 sacks on Lenore Sellers. You can't have 6 sacks in a game.
No.
And
No.
you're not going to win. Ole Miss also has the pick. Trey Amos gets a pick on Sellers, and, that's why this game was ugly. 27-3 final. And Ole Miss, they have new life. Bama lost. Tennessee lost. It's open. The SEC is back open. Next game here, Iowa traveling to Ohio State. We had to talk about it because this Iowa team, we thought they could control the game. Until halftime, they did. 7-0 at halftime. Iowa looks like, okay, they can hang in here. Maybe they can score in the second half and keep it close. Wrong. Ohio State proves our offense is unbelievable, our talent is unbelievable, and we're better than you by a lot. 35-7 final. They are now 5-0. They finally play their first quote-unquote real opponent because Iowa does have a really good defense. We said that Cade McNamara had to play good in this game for them to win. Said he had to probably have around 180 to 200 passing yards, and that just doesn't happen in this game. He also throws a pick. You can't make mistakes when your passing game is already not very good. On the other side, Will Howard, 209 on 21 for 25, which is great. 4 touchdowns, does have the 1 pick. Again, if you're throwing 4 touchdowns to 1 pick, that's a good ratio. And then the running game is
elite.
We talked about it. Judkins and Henderson, we're talking about
Stuff.
2 of the best backs in the country. And they both look like it in this game. They run great. Receiving wise, Jeremiah Smith, Again,
Dude can catch everything. He's a crazy.
unbelievable. To me, like I've said before, I think he's the best receiver in the country, freshman receiver in the country. And you could argue he's in the top 5 of receivers in the country with how he's played.
I think he is. I think he's 100% up there in top five.
Emeka Egbuka, also a phenomenal target for them, and he catches 3 of the 4 touchdowns that Will Howard throws. On the other side, Iowa, Reese Vanderzee, we talked about him at the beginning of the year. He was kind of their lead receiver to start the year off. Not much passing offense in general since then, since that first game. McNamara also has 2 fumbles in this game, so he turns the ball over 3 times. That is an issue. Caleb Johnson plays well, 15 for 86, 5.7 yards per carry, 1 touchdown, but Ohio State could just kind of key in on him because they don't have to worry about the passing game. Just not much production from Iowa in general. The offense or the defense didn't play well in this game, and Ohio State looks like a top 5 team in the country. Next game here, Rutgers traveling to Nebraska. Not an easy football game to play. I mean, you got to go to Nebraska where they sell out every game, as we talked about last week. The fans were there again, and it's super low scoring. I mean, this is a Big Ten football game. You're talking about a 14-7 final. Both teams don't pass the ball super well. Both teams do run the ball pretty well, and that's just, I mean, if you ask me on paper, what's Big Ten football? I'd say this game. This game exactly. Callie McManus, 15 for 37 is awful. 186 yards, not awful, 1 touchdown, but he also throws the 2 picks. He has a 19.3 QBR.
Terrible.
That is awful.
And look at the
On the other side, Raiola matches him with a worse game, but just 2 turnovers. He goes 134 and an 11 QBR. 11. Yeah, this was rough. Rutgers get the ball going on the ground. Monungai does have a good game.
Good.
Samuel Brown didn't have near as many carries as he did the last 2 games, but he does, run well, I guess, in his 3 carries. Callie McManus, of course, he was getting sacked in this game. Nebraska's defense played well. On the other side, for Nebraska's running attack, Dante Dowdle plays well, 14 for 57. And then we talked about the Johnson and Johnson combo of Rahmir and Emmett Johnson. Emmett obviously struggled with only 2.4 yards per carry, but Rahmir has good averages on his 5 carries. Receiving game, again, not a big talking. Both of them didn't do a whole lot. And as you can see, Isaiah Nader's name is not on here. He had 0 receptions. Nebraska's best receiver doesn't catch a pass, and they win. They were just good enough defensively and good enough running the ball to control the game and win this game. On the other side for Rutgers, Dymere Miller was their lead receiver on the year. Ben Black has 2 for 54 and a touchdown in this game. It's just, again, not much passing happened in this game. Both defenses played well. 4 sacks on both sides, 9 TFLs for Nebraska, 7 for the Rutgers, and both of them have picks. They had 2 on Nebraska's side, 1 on the Rutgers side, but again, this was a very defensive-heavy run game. And that's what I talk about Big Ten football. I expect it. And, yeah, they just played a little bit better Big Ten football, man. 14-7 final. Next game here, we have our national championship rematch, although it's not much of a rematch because Washington had 2 players return from last year's team and Michigan only had 6. So it's completely overhauled rosters with new coaches. Will Rogers plays really well. 21 for 31, 271, 2 touchdowns. Does have the pick. But, again, turnovers happen. Running the ball. Jonah Coleman, we talked about him, how he was going to be a key to get the running game going. He does well, 18 for 80. Also has a touchdown in this game. On the other side, passing the ball for Michigan, Jack Tuttle steps in and is now, who knows, maybe he's the quarterback. They don't know. It's a revolving door. It's new quarterback each week. Jack Tuttle goes 10 for 18, 98 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Orgy was not getting it done at all. Their passing attack was 0 with him in there, so they had to try something else. So Tuttle comes in, throws for 100 yards, and that might be the best passing game we've seen out of any other quarterbacks all year.
Yeah, I don't know if they passed for 100 yards this year.
Yeah. Running the ball. This is it. Donovan Edwards finally did it. He finally broke out. Had an awesome game. 14 for 95 and a touchdown. He looked like Donovan Edwards. He looked like a superstar. And then Khalil Mullings doesn't run the ball as good as he has in the past. Again, he's a big bruiser, power back, but he still runs the ball well, 14 for 49. This was just proof that Washington knew what they were going to do. They knew all they could do was just run the ball all game, and they just sold out for it. And even though Michigan didn't even run the ball bad, 174 yards, averaging almost 5 yards per carry and a touchdown, the passing attack is just nothing, especially when Washington throws for 315 yards. You're just not going to beat them.
It's hard to stop that.
Receiving-wise, Michigan, Loveland gets some receptions, still not, in my opinion, enough. He should have 10 receptions a game. Throw the ball.
He's your best player.
He's by far the best receiver. It's not close. He's easily the best receiver on that team, and he doesn't get the ball enough. To me, I think that's the point I would just pound over and over and over and over in film sessions.
And then boop.
Quarterbacks, throw him the ball. Let him make plays because our passing attack is so bad. We need to just go to our best player as many times as we can. For Washington, we talked about how they had a pretty good passing attack. Denzel Boston and Giles Jackson both played really well in this game, 5 for 80 and 4 for 78, respectively, both with touchdowns. Looking at the defenses for both sides, we know that Michigan's defense is really good, and they get after the quarterback. 4 sacks, 6 TFLs, better defense than Washington had, but it's just the limited offense that Michigan.
Offense is not good. The
Their
offense is not
offense
good.
yeah, it's just awful. It really is. It's the running game is great, but the passing attack, if you don't have something, teams just can sell out for your run game all game and shut you down. Again, Michigan's season's practically over. Let's say they figure out the quarterback situation or something, and maybe they bounce back down the road, but I don't trust Michigan against a big-time team right now. Next game here, as you can tell, Texas Tech comes into Arizona, and they beat them. They're now 5-1, 3-0 the conference, and Texas Tech looks like a real competitor in the Big 12. Arizona, on the other hand, they don't play a bad football game, but Fafita just has those 2 picks. We've talked about it all year. He hasn't looked right. We thought Fafita was one of the better junior quarterbacks in the entire country. He's just making mistake after mistake after mistake, and it really is on him this game. It's on him when they lose this one because 3-0-1's a good game, but no touchdowns, and he goes, near 50%, 50, 57, 58, somewhere in that area. But the 2 picks is just you can't have it. You cannot have it when your running game is actually playing pretty well. Quali Conley goes 14 for 97, averaging almost 7 yards per carry and a touchdown. And on the other side, Baron Morton, he did his job. That's all he had to do. Just do your job, let your defense and your running game win you the game. He doesn't turn the ball over. He doesn't have touchdowns, but he throws for 200 yards. Texas Tech
These dominant running teams have to be able to just drop the ball somewhere else to get just spread the ball so that people can't key on your running game as well. Because if you're putting 7 people in the box, you should be able to pass the ball. And that's what these defenses are playing against these teams that run the ball like Texas Tech and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean that's like that they figured out they could pass the ball just a little bit around that. So
yeah, Texas Tech has found something in their passing attack, and it's enough. Baron Morton actually wasn't having a bad year coming into this game. He was passing pretty well, and that's why they're 5-1. Taj Brooks, great. Another great game from him. 21 carries, 128 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground. The guy's great. And like you said, rushing attack is great when the passing attack helps them out. Receiving wise, for Texas Tech, Caleb Douglas goes 5 for 116. That's the best game he's had this year. Josh Kelly didn't even play a great game. He was their leading receiver. On the other side, Arizona, he's found him. I mean, Fafita knows that, hey, I got a superstar out there.
Throw the ball up to the guy that catches the ball. But
I feel like we could do it even more, but I mean, 8 for 161 is at least you're using him right. I would like to see red zone targets. He did have one where Fafita overthrew him on a little they had a little pitch back to the quarterback after a little reverse. Fafita launches it, and it's just barely over his head. It hits McMillan in one of his 2 hands, but he just couldn't get another hand on the ball. That's a missed touchdown. That's the game. I mean, you lost by 6. If you make that throw, maybe you win that game. It's just inconsistency from Fafita. And then defensively, both teams, nothing special. 2 sacks, 4 TFLs, solid games, but nothing special. Next game here. Tech played their best all-around football game I've seen them play this year. And it was really – because, you could argue the fourth quarter of the Miami game, we let off the gas just a little bit too much. And we also had some coaching mistakes and player mistakes in that game. And that lost us that one. On top of, we've talked about it, the replay center lost Miami. This game, super complete. Coaching, great. All game, great. Did a phenomenal job of managing the game, making adjustments when necessary, and knowing Justin Lampson's the quarterback for Stanford. He's a running quarterback. He has 7 rushing touchdowns in his career, and to this point, still 0 passing touchdowns as a quarterback. He's never thrown a passing touchdown.
That's crazy.
You key in on it, and this guy's not an elite passer. They're going to want to run the ball a lot, which they did want to run the ball a lot, and they didn't run horribly bad, but Tech did the right thing, and they forced turnovers. They won the turnover battle again for a second straight week. We forced a pick on Lampson. We also forced a fumble on the 3-yard line when they almost scored. So they had gotten scoring range twice, and Tech's defense was able to hold up and keep him out of the end zone and keep him out of from making the field goal.
Yep.
That was it. We kind of took control after that. The offense played really well. As you can see, Drones goes for over 200 yards, which he didn't do last week, even though he did play a good game against Miami. 14 for 19. I like to see that. I mean, 14 completions and you get 200 yards. That means you're throwing the ball pretty well in the air. And then also 2 touchdowns on the game. He also ran for a touchdown inside the 5-yard line. He had a little fake to a running back and pulled it and ran it in himself.
Power there. Little QB power.
He's a power runner for sure. He's a
Yep.
big dude. Tootin doesn't go over 100 this week, but this was the number one rush defense in the ACC. They were the best at stopping the run, and he still goes 21 for 73.
He's a
30.
stud.
He's awesome. Yeah, yeah. Tootin's great. He's now
I think
8th.
I'm seeing an ACC best running back there. I think that's the best
Yeah.
running back in the ACC right there.
I think him and Omarion are on that level of, they're better than everybody else. They're above everybody else. And I would say at this point, Omarion is he's going to the NFL. Omarion is. And Bayshore hadn't really got that because he was an FCS guy for a while. But he's definitely boosted his stock. He's playing on Sundays now. I mean, people
Oh yeah, for sure.
say this guy's legit. I think I was reading some stats on him today. He's now 8th nationally. He's now 2nd in the ACC in rushing yards. He's
Yep.
now ranked in the top 10 nationally in touchdowns. I think he was in the top 5. He's number 1 in the ACC. He's now ranked in the top 10 nationally in broken tackles on the season with 36.
That
That's
is insane.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
He's
that's
also
insane.
ranked number 1 in the ACC with broken tackles out of running backs. As you said, you could argue he is the best running back in the ACC. He's phenomenal. When you get him the ball, he makes plays. He doesn't go
Yep.
over 100 yards, just said that, but he does go 73 yards. And Pry talked about it after the game. He earned those. This was a game where you had to earn them because they were good at stopping the run. They have some big boys on the D line, and their linebackers play well in the rushing attack. On the other side, Stanford, they wanted to run the ball more because of their quarterback situation. We shut down their QB run game. It was completely shut down. 19 for 36, only 1.9 yards per carry. And they didn't really get the ball around to their other backs enough. Micah Ford, very unfortunate injury. They still had their starters in the game with 30 seconds left. He goes down non-contact on the sideline. It looks ugly. I don't know what happened to him. I haven't read an injury report yet, but just a poor, poor decision by
That's usually a knee right there. If it's up from the sidelines, not
Exactly.
non-contact, a knee. Yeah, that's not
And why
good.
is that guy in the game?
Now
Why is
you
the
take the
lead
guy
back
out.
in the game?
Nope.
It was just a terrible decision from the coaching staff. Looking at the receiving game, we shut down Alec Aominer, which is massive. I mean, we have Dorian Strong. He's locked down. You throw him on the best guy, he usually shuts him down. As you can see, Lamson doesn't have a touchdown in this game, but Micah Ford does on a very unique play. A 19-yard touchdown pass where they pitched it out to him on the outside. He had blockers in front of him, and he steps up and throws it to Alec Aominer. And that was his one touchdown catch, and it was a crazy one. I mean, he toe tapped it. It was very, very close. Indisputable evidence, couldn't overturn it. But on the other side for Tech, Daquan Felton, best game of the year. Love it because he just got gypped last week on a touchdown catch that should have been a game winner. And this week he says, okay, let me answer back with my best game all year 4 for 84 and a 55-yard touchdown pass. He takes that one, a lot of it by himself. It was a really good throw from Drones. I mean, he fitted in between 2 defenders that were coming down on him. Ball is perfectly placed right behind Felton. He catches it on his back and runs 55 yards. I mean, super
Yeah.
great play for him. And then Gosnell, 3 for 53. We've learned he's just consistent. He's going to always catch.
Him and his brother both. Him and his brother both. I would like to see his brother get the ball a little bit more there at tight end.
Yes, Benji, generally, this game was kind of weird. We only had 4 possessions in the whole first half. Yeah, the clock was just chewing. They were running the ball so much. We were running the ball a lot. Only 4 possessions, and one of them was at the very end of the half with like 18 seconds left. So we technically only had 3 real scoring drives and scored 2 of the 3 in the first half. Jalen Lane, all of his yards come on the first drive that we went down and scored a touchdown. He literally had 50 of their 65 yards on a touchdown drive. Defensively, 5 sacks, 12 TFLs.
That's a
We
great game.
absolutely shut them down in the run game. We shut them down in the passing game, and we were all over Lamson. I mean, he had no time at all. You get to see some contributions from guys like Fuga and even some backups. James Jeanette, Malachi Madsen, both get sacks in this game, and then Aeneas Peebles had one as well. Also, Brody Jones got to play in this football game. I guess me and Dalton both have a connection to him.
Yeah. I blocked him my senior year. I was at a left tackle at the end. That dude's tough. I'm not gonna lie. I blocked him. We put him in it was my last high school game. I have haunted memories about that guy. But
Yeah.
he 3 tackles. Is that 3 tackles?
Yeah. 3 tackles.
Dang, Brody.
He was
Okay.
playing up just pure.
Shout out.
They have him as a star position, so he's playing outside
Yeah.
linebacker, middle linebacker, safety, dropping really anywhere they need him. And yeah, he had 3 tackles in that game. Shout out to him. Got to play in
Yeah.
this game. Also, like I said, Asen Stevens got in this game at the end. He almost had a sack. They didn't count it for him. They gave it to someone else. Maybe Devin Alves may have got that sack. But just awesome to see the guys get a play, and it was great. You get to use your second stringers, and you get to rest your starters right before a bye week. I mean, you got a fourth quarter of rest and then another week of rest for the Thursday game against Boston College. Next game here, it's a sad one for Dalton. Dalton is down the dumps like I have been multiple times this year. Arkansas comes in kind of underrated by a lot of the country, but
I
me,
was saying this is going to be a close game because of how good their running game is. And air offense, I just don't think Nico. I love Nico, love him. I mean, he's not Peyton, obviously, not the sheriff. And he just isn't ready for that big game, which scares me coming up with Alabama in the next 2 weeks. That scares me.
Tennessee's defense did good at getting stops
Yeah,
because Arkansas's offense, they could have been up 21-0 at halftime. They had an opportunity on the half-yard line that gets stopped by a false start, and they end up having to kick the field goal. They have a wide open touchdown dropped by Centennia. Wide open. I mean, wide
that's
open.
pure luck. Yeah, it was just
Taylor
pure luck.
Green rolls out and throws it, and it is as open as you can be, just muffs it right through his hands. That's another story in this game. Even though Tennessee lost, their defense still played really well
Their defense is
until
good.
yeah, until that very last drive. They had really not allowed a lot of rushing for Arkansas in
Yeah.
general. If you want to talk about the rest of that game,
Yeah, I was watching that game. I actually just got out of the woods from hunting, and I seen the score because I didn't get to watch the first like quarter, and I was like, it's close. I'm scared, and I sat there and watched the rest of the game, and I was just continuing to be scared. And we punted the ball away, and then they got the ball, and I just kept watching them drive and drive and drive, and then they scored the touchdown. I'm like, and I was just like, man, I was just done making fun of Alabama. I made fun of Alabama because my brother's a diehard Alabama. You'll see him probably next week. He's a diehard Alabama fan. I'd called him, texted him, made a few jokes every once in a while. Well, it's like as soon as he scores a touchdown, and I was sitting there, I'm like, well, here it comes. I get probably 7, 8 messages from different people. How about them Vols? And I'm like, I mean, it is what it is. Nico just needs to play a little better. I mean, Dylan Sampson needs to wait, and we need to get the run game opened up in the first half.
Mhm.
That was their fault because we run the ball. That's what we figured out our identity this year is. We run the ball. We pass the ball quite a bit too. But if you can't run the ball, you can't pass the ball. You got to have both of them at the same time with us. That's how our
Yeah,
offense rolls. And Arkansas just beat us. I mean, it is what it is.
yeah. That rushing attack being so non-existent in the first half really hindered them because
I mean, he still played good in the second half. Like having
yeah,
140 yards in a game is still crazy.
he had a
But
phenomenal second
yeah,
half.
yeah, outstanding. Like I still agree. I still think he's the second best running back in the SEC. Do you know who the first one is? He's sitting there on Arkansas. I'm just saying. You can't
Well,
tackle
Jackson's great, but to me, I think Le'Veon Moss may say
after that. He did have a heck of a game. So
he may
they're the
say
top
scoot over
running
Sampson.
back
I
in
want the
the
job,
SEC.
but no, I don't
Yeah,
disagree with you at all. Actually, I really do think Sampson is one of the better backs,
yeah,
and it's Arkansas had a great game plan. They knew what to do. They just knew how to control the game, keep it close, and the comeback to me, once Tennessee did get up, it was
yeah.
to me. I thought it was over. I thought for sure, okay, they got it. Tennessee's won it. And Arkansas just has the ability to fight back. You didn't expect it, truthfully. The play that Taylor Green goes down on, the knee, it looked ugly. The knee went
It
backwards.
was it was kind of a cheap shot. I'm going to say that it was a
Well, the
cheap
knee
shot.
went backwards. I won't say that. I would just say it was really nasty looking. He
Yeah,
tries to come back in the game. He's obviously not
he
healthy.
can't, he can't move. He couldn't move.
No, he tried to roll out, and it was the. I mean, he's hobbling. He's
He
hobbling
just
out.
like hopped he out I was hoping he was gonna get sacked there. I'm not gonna lie. I assume we can because he couldn't
That's
move. Like, he just ding ding ding
yeah.
and then just
That's his whole
but
game. His whole
yeah
game is getting out of the pocket, making plays with his feet, and really that eliminated a huge threat of Arkansas. They
it
couldn't
did.
even pass the ball anymore. Malachi Singleton come in. He tried to throw a pass. It was ugly.
But
He
then
did complete a pass, but for short yardage. So then they're thinking, I guess Tennessee's thought is, like you said, they punted and then they go down and score. Tennessee's thought is, we can stop them. All we have to do is
we
sell
can
out for
stop
the
them, but they didn't. They ran the ball down our throats and
Tennessee
absolutely
tries to sell out for the run game, and Braylon Russell is
he's
unbelievable.
a huge guy. You can't tackle that man.
I mean, the dude's
He's
a
massive.
monster. He's like 6'2", 256 pounds. I mean, it's an absolute monster going downhill.
That's a fullback. That's a fullback. That is a heck
Tennessee
of a
defenders were terrified. They were like, "Oh no, we don't want to
I
tackle
mean,
him."
I would be too. Imagine tackling that guy.
Yeah, second level guys not touching him.
Yeah.
Safeties, corners not touching him. The dude was unbelievable that last drive. That's why Arkansas won. They get
That
all the way
one
down there. Malachi Singleton had a very nice little fake to him. Boom, pulls it, touchdown. And on that play, I think Tennessee's thought process was, let's let him score. If you watched it, the safety
It
really did.
was we laid him
He
into the end
moved out
zone.
of the way. Yeah, he
Yeah,
moved out of the way.
yeah.
But
Moved out.
I don't know about it because I think you could have just sold out for the run game maybe a little bit harder and maybe got the stop there. And that was just, I guess, Tennessee just said we want time. But to me, Tennessee's passing attack just wasn't good enough.
It's just not good enough. It's just not good
Say
enough.
with a minute 11, let's let them score. I don't know. It was interesting, and I didn't. Once I saw the Tennessee drive, they did get down the field, so
Yeah.
that made the decision look
And
less.
Nico freaked out.
Questionable. Yeah, Nico. I mean, 6 seconds left. That is
He's just too young. Like he doesn't like in that situation. You can see him. He's rolling out, and then like it's like he looks down the field, but he doesn't look at both sides. He looks straight the right side of the field. Doesn't look. The left was a little bit. I'm pretty positive the guy on the left was pretty like wide open,
he was
and
pretty open, but it would have been a crossbody
it would have
throw.
been it would have been a crazy throw. But he just doesn't have that like that dominant pocket presence yet to be able to
No,
command a team that against a good Arkansas team that just went down and scored, and you've got less than 30 seconds to score. You've got to be able to throw. You've got to just be able to get the ball quick. Get rid of the ball. That's the most important part there, and we couldn't do it.
yeah,
And
they
we
got
lost the ball.
they got in Arkansas territory with about 30 some seconds left,
Yeah,
and Nico, it just sucked because there was two things that happened at the end that both kind of looked like they were just on him being rattled and just not ready for it. He muffs a snap. The ball falls into his running back's hand. His running
and
back has to run forward. They don't get a first down. Clock just chews and chews and chews. There goes all your time. Then they throw that. I think they threw an incompletion, and then
yep.
it's the 6 seconds left. Nico, you just have to throw it up. He rolls out, and you could almost see he's 6 yards down the field past the marker, and he like pump fakes. He's like,
He
"Oh
just
my
he's
god!"
like I just sold. Yeah,
He's like, "Yeah, it's over. I lost." Stat talk. Quick rundown here. Andrew Armstrong is unbelievable. Green said, "Oh, he's a superstar. Let me just get him the ball as many times as I possibly can." Centennia, 5 for 72, could have over 100 and a touchdown on the game as well if he doesn't drop a wide open touchdown. And then Jaquindon Jackson, dude's a stud, catches passes and runs the ball super well. On the other side, Tennessee, this
yeah.
didn't help them. Dante Thornton goes down with an injury. Squirrel White goes down with an injury. That one was more on a tackle where it looked really odd. I don't know if White's
And Bray
okay.
McCoy actually got hurt there too because he had a
McCoy, yes,
finger, some type of finger. I can't.
yes,
It was a
wrist
finger.
and two fingers taped together. So I'm assuming he probably broke a finger.
Broke a finger or something. That just
Just
doesn't
tons.
help.
It's physical football. It's SEC football, very physical. Tennessee wasn't ready to replace those guys with other guys and make plays. It just wasn't enough. They just lost so much on top of Nico just being in a situation where he wasn't ready for it. Defensively, we talked about it. Tennessee's defense was still good in this game.
Yep.
It's hard to sack Taylor Green. He rolls her out. He makes all kinds of plays. So I don't blame him for only having 2 sacks. Pierce, you talked about it. Pierce finally got his.
I mean, yes.
7 TFLs. On the other side, this is great by Arkansas. 4 sacks. You got to Nico, and that's all you have to do is just rush the young quarterback and make him make plays. And again, he just couldn't do it in this game, and Tennessee loses. Thank you guys so much for joining us this week. Of course, we talked about it. Awesome week of college football. Really throws you back to that '07 year with tons of upsets. Just fun football all around. And everybody said, I said it before the week started. If you remember, we talked about it. If you look at that schedule, you say, it's not that great this week. It's not that great.
Bunch of upsets though.
I said it. I said all week. This is a good week. You just have to find them, and they were all over the place. Good football games, left and right, and just a super fun week in general. I'm super excited for the upcoming week. We have tons of really good football games in this upcoming week. So if you guys don't mind joining us again on Thursday, we're really excited for this upcoming week. Again, thank you so much, Dalton. You have anything you want to add?
Go Vols and peace out.
Yeah, peace out, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Peace.